Hello everyone, welcome back to Crochet State of Mind. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful October themed cardigan with pockets. This is perfect for the fall and winter months. So let's go ahead and jump right into the materials. So for this project, I used 3.5 skeins of the Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek Low Pill Fiber, 232 yards per skein. This is the color Bruschetta. This is a medium 4-weight yarn, 100% low pill acrylic. The recommended hook size is a 6mm crochet hook or J10. I am using my Furl 6mm hook. The other color I'm using is the French Lilac, and I used 3 1/4 skeins of this color. I'll also be using a measuring tape as this cardigan is made to measure, stitch markers, pair of scissors, and darning needle. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have a cutout here to show you how this cardigan is going to be constructed. The main body is going to be done in one piece. Starting with the first front panel, we're going to work in rows until we get to the armhole depth, at which point we're not going to cut our yarn. We're going to continue for the back panel till we get to the second armhole depth and also the second front panel. Now, if you want to make this longer, just increase the number of stitches for your foundation row. If you want to make the cardigan wider, just increase the number of rows. Or if you want to make it thinner, decrease the number of rows. Now, once you have the body done, you're going to fold the cardigan like so, and then you're going to whip stitch the front panels to the back, and you're going to add the sleeves by working them in the round. Once you're done adding the sleeves, you're going to work the border, starting at the bottom, going up around the neckline and back down. And so your cardigan is going to look like this when it's done and the sleeves are added. All right, remember they're going to be worked in the round. So let's get started with our first front panel. And so to get started, we're going to start with a foundation chain of 90 foundation half double crochet stitches, and that will be the first row. So for row 1, you're going to do 90 foundation half double crochet stitches, or however many stitches you need to get the desired length. Now, as long as you have an even number, so you can make this as long as you want or as short as you want. We're talking about the foundation row here. You can make it longer or shorter as long as your stitch count is an even number. This is important for some of the stitches that we'll be using throughout the pattern. So I just did my first foundation half double crochet stitch, and I'm doing my second. I do have a video tutorial on how to do the foundation half double crochet stitches, so be sure to check that out. So continue along the row with your foundation half double crochet stitches. If you're not comfortable doing foundation half double crochet stitches, just do a regular foundation chain and then add 90 half double crochet stitches for your first row. Okay, so I will see you at the end of row 1. So we're at the end of row 1, and this is what that row 1, which is the half double crochet, the foundation half double crochet row looks like. Now I do want to mention that this is the first row of an 8-row repeat. So throughout this pattern, we will be using an 8-row repeat. Okay, so the first row is going to be half double crochet row, which we just completed. Second row is going to be double crochet. Third row double crochet. Fourth row is going to be cross stitch double crochet. Fifth row is going to be double crochet. Now there's going to be color changes as well. So row 6 is going to be double crochet. Row 7 is going to be extended half double crochet in the back loop only, and so is the 8th row, also extended half double crochet in the back loop only. We just completed row 1. Now we're going to work on row 2. So for row 2, we are going to turn our work, and we are not going to do turning chains. In fact, throughout this entire main body, we're not going to do turning chains. Instead, we're going to do stacked single crochet. So to do that, you're going to insert a single crochet in the first stitch of the row below. Then in that left leg of that single crochet, you're going to insert your hook and do another single crochet. And there you have a stacked single crochet stitch, which is the alternative to the chain 2 for double crochet stitches. So for row 2 as well as row 3, you're going to do double crochet stitches along the rows, right? So again, rows 2 and 3 are going to be double crochet rows. At this point, we are still using color A, which is the bruschetta. So I will meet you at the end of row 3. So we're at the end of row 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to start row 4, which is where we're going to change color. So I'm actually going to show you guys how I do my color change. Now, I do have a video tutorial on how to change colors. I have 2 methods for doing this. So be sure to check those videos out. So I'm using this method, which is called the magic join. So I cut up my yarn and then I undid, so I frogged the last 2 stitches. And you're going to see in a minute why I do that. So now we're going to introduce color B, which is the French lilac. So I just want to show you French lilac. This will be color B. Color A was a bruschetta. Color B is the French lilac. Now, again, this is the magic join method for changing colors or adding yarn when you're running out of yarn. So first you're going to create a knot. And this knot's going to be closer to your hook. Then on the left side, away from your hook, you're going to create another knot. And feel free to slow the video down and pause or rewind if you need to. Now, once you have the 2 knots, you're going to pull the strings. So pull the old yarn and the new yarn apart until the knots meet. And then you can just pull tight. This is not going to be undone. So you can pull as tight as you want. And then you're going to clip off those loose ends from the join. Now this is going to create a knot. I don't mind the knots because I typically use borders anyway. But if you like this method, this is a good alternative to having to weave in ends after every color change. So then you continue, you redo your stitches, and there you go. You can see that now we've added the new color. Okay, so this is how I change colors. Now for row 4, we are now moving to the cross stitch double crochet. Okay, to do that, we're going to start with the stack single crochet. So again, we're not doing a turning chain, no chain 2. So once you have your stack single crochet, which counts as the first double crochet, you're going to now start your X. So to do that, you're going to skip the next stitch, and then the one after that, you're going to insert a double crochet stitch like so. Now, to do the X, you're going to go back to the stitch that you skipped, and you're going to do a double crochet in there. And that is going to give you that X. So you just created your first X. Okay, so that is your cross double crochet stitch, which is an X. So then you're going to skip the next one, and in the one after that, you're going to insert a double crochet. So you're just repeating what you did with that first X. And now in this stitch that you skipped, you're going to put your next double crochet. So you're essentially going forward, backwards, right? But you're skipping a stitch. When you're done with the cross, you're skipping a stitch. You go into this one, you do a double crochet stitch, and then you go back to the one that you skipped, and you insert your double crochet stitch there, and that's what's going to give you that X. And this is the reason why you need an even number for your foundation row so that you can get those X's. So I'll meet you at the end of this row. So now we're at the end. We're getting to the end of row 4, and I want to show you how to end the row. So you're going to skip again that stitch and then go in the next stitch. This is the second to last stitch. You're going to put a double crochet and then go back to the one that you skipped. Do a double crochet there, and then you have your last X, and you end the row with a regular double crochet stitch. You do not end the row with an X or cross stitch. You end it with a double crochet. So you start with a double crochet, you end with a double crochet. And now we're at the end of row 4. So beginning started with a double crochet, the ends ended with a double crochet for that row. In between, you had X's. Okay. So now that we're done with row 4, we're going to prepare for a color change. We're going back to color A. And this time I'm going to do this off camera. All right, so now we are at the end of row 4, which is the end of color B, and we went back to color A for rows 5 and 6, which are going to be double crochet rows, right? So row 5, it's going to be double crochet row, And again, we are back to the color A, the bruschetta color. So keep doing double crochet stitches. Again, you're starting with a stacked single crochet stitch instead of the turning chain. So I will see you, I'll do this off camera, and I will see you at the end of row 6, because rows 5 and 6 are double crochet rows. So I'll see you at the end of row 6. All right, so we're at the end of row 6, which was a double crochet row, and now we've changed color. We're back to color B. And for row 7 and 8, we're going to do extended half double crochet stitches in the back loop only. We do not use a turning chain. Instead, we use a stacked single crochet, which counts as the first extended half double crochet stitch of the row. Okay, now I'm going to put my stitch marker here to indicate that this is the first extended half double crochet stitch. However, that was not an extended half double crochet stitch. That was the stacked single crochet, which counts as one. I'm going to show you now how to do an extended half double crochet, which is the next stitch. So to do that, you're going to yarn over as you would for a half double crochet stitch. Then you're going to insert your hook in the back loop. So you have the front loop and the back loop. So in the back loop, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook, and yarn over, pull through 1. That's going to create a chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. So you're essentially adding a chain to your half double crochet. So again, yarn over, then in the back loop, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to do a chain 1 by yarning over, pulling through 1 loop. You've got 3 loops remaining, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And that is called an extended half double crochet stitch, but we're doing those in the back loop. So again, yarn over, insert your hook in the back loop, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 1. You've got 3 loops, and now yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so keep doing this until the end of the row. So I'll see you at the end. So we're almost at the end of row 7, and in that last row, you're going to end it with an extended half double crochet stitch under both loops. So not in the back loop, but under both loops. So yarn over, insert your hook under both loops, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 1. You've got 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that is the end of row 7, which was an extended half double crochet in the back loop only row. Now you're going to turn your work, and for row 8, you're going to repeat what you did for row 7. And I will do this off camera and meet you at the end of row 8. See you in a bit. And here we are at the end of row 8. We've done our 8 rows, and this completes our 8 row repeat. And what we're going to do now, we're just going to keep repeating this 8 row repeat until we get to the armhole. That will complete the first front panel. All right, so our first front panel is now completed, and I have about 8.5 inches for my first front panel. And now we're going to start working on the back panel. But before we do that, I want to show you the cutout again. So this is what we're starting. We're starting the what we call the null row, which is where we're going to create the armhole depth. So you're going to turn your work, and now once your work is turned, you're working from the bottom of the cardigan up. Okay, so but first you need to indicate where your armhole depth is going to be. So to do that, and I want to show you, this is what we're doing right now. So we flipped our work, and this is what we're looking at. So this is the top of the cardigan, and we're not going to start crocheting from the top, right? I just want to show you how I get the armhole depth. So I'm going to measure 8 inches based on my body measurement. My circumference for my arm with some ease is 16. Divide that by 2, you get 8 inches. So 8 inches is where I'm going to put my stitch marker to let me know that that's the space that I need to leave for the armhole. So I'm going to use my stitch marker insert it right there where that 8 inches was. And then I'm going to count the number of stitches that's the equivalent of those 8 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we've got 23 stitches, 23 chains is what I'm going to create. But I just want to, show you how I got that armhole depth. So now let's go back to the bottom and we're going to work our way up until we get to this stitch marker. At that point, we're going to split off and create a chain of 23. This row that I'm going to work on, I call it a null row, meaning it does not count as a row. It's just what's going to divide the front panel and the back panel, and it's just going to be single crochets. Notice that we did not cut the yarn. We're still using the yarn. We're continuing along the entire body, the main body of the cardigan, which is the front panel, back panel, and then again the second front panel. So I just put my stitch marker again to indicate this is the first stitch of the row. This is the null row, and I'm using single crochet. This is just to distinguish between the front and the back panel. So just single crochet until you get to that stitch marker. All right, so now we are almost at the stitch marker. So we're inserting one final stitch, which is the stitch right before the stitch where the stitch marker is. Now, I'm counting to make sure that I have 23. This is just, just a double, triple check, making sure that I have 23 stitches here, okay? And this is important because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 23. And this is what creates that gap that's going to turn into the armhole depth, which eventually is where we're going to work our sleeve. So I'm inserting my stitch marker to indicate that this is where I'm starting my 23 chains. And now you're just going to chain 23. This is just a regular chain row. And now we are at the end of our chain 23. Notice again, I did not cut my yarn. I just kept going. And I have 23 chains. Now we're going to turn our work. And we've just completed the null row. And now we're starting the first row of the back panel, which is going to be an extended half double crochet row. No turning chain, starting with the stack single crochet, just as we did before. Now keep in mind that for me, I'm continuing on with the extended half double crochet because that's where I was in the pattern, in the 8-row repeat. This is based on my own body measurements. Your measurements, depending on whether your cardigan is going to be bigger or smaller, you may end with a different row in the 8-row repeat. Okay, so it may not necessarily be an extended half double crochet. It may be a double crochet row, maybe a cross stitch. It really depends on your measurements and where you are in the pattern when you get to the end of the front panel. I hope this makes sense. But anyway, I'm now starting the first row of the back panel, and you'll notice that I'm doing this on top of the chain 23, and I'll eventually merge to the rest of the null row. But this is an extended half double crochet row in the back loop only, okay? So I'll meet you when I get to the merge, which is where that stitch marker is over there. So I'm now merging my extended half double crochet in the back loop only row, which was on top of the chain 23. But as you can see, I'm now continuing on the null row, right? So you're not stopping, you're not cutting your yarn, you're not fastening off, you're just continuing along. So we're just merging and continuing on along the row. Once you're done with this row, which is your first row of the back panel, you're just going to continue your 8-row repeat pattern until you've completed 35 rows or however many rows you need to achieve the desired width of your cardigan, okay? So I will see you at the end of the back panel when we are going to start the null row for the front panel. So just keep going until you have your 35 rows or however many rows you need to achieve your desired width. So I just want to show you what we just did. We just did this. This is what we're doing now. And we're just going to repeat this for 35 rows. I will see you at the end. All right, so our back panel is complete. And this is what it looks like. So the only time we broke away from the 8-row repeat was when we did the null row. So aside from that, we're just following the 8-row repeat throughout the entire project. So I just want to show you what that armhole looked like for the first front panel. And as we start working on the second front panel, we need to create that null row again. Okay, so let's go ahead and prepare for that second front panel. So here's the cutout again, and now we're going to do this this row, the null row, which is going to separate the back panel from the second front panel and also simultaneously add that armhole. So we're going to repeat the same process. We're not going to need to measure the 8 inches because we counted the 23 inches. So we're just going to count 23 inches. I'm sorry, 23 stitches. I apologize. 23 stitches. Once you have your 23rd stitch, you're going to put your stitch marker in the 23rd stitch. And then you're just going to repeat what we did earlier. So we're starting from the bottom of the cardigan, working our way up until we get to that stitch marker. So we're working on the null row, which again is going to be a single crochet. Now, your null row can be whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be a double crochet row, it can. If you want it to be an extended single crochet or extended half double, it can be whatever you want as long as it's consistent for both null rows, because you'll need 2 null rows to separate the front panels from the back panel. Okay, so we'll be working on null row, and I will see you when we get to that stitch marker. All right, so now we are almost at the stitch marker. We're going to put our last single crochet stitch of the null row, and now we're going to start our chain 23 row. Okay, remember that this stitch marker is the first stitch of the 23 stitches. So now we're going to chain 1, so that will be the first of the 23 chain stitches. And now we're going to continue chaining 23. So 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, so see you at the end of that chain 23. All right, we just completed our 23 chain stitches. And this was the null row. So now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to work on the second front panel. So just as we did earlier when we went from the first front panel to the back panel, now we're going from the back panel to the second front panel. So we're just going to continue our 8-row repeat for 15 rows for my size. So depending on your body measurements, it could be more or less rows. Okay, but continue the 8-row repeat pattern until you're done with your second front panel. So I will see you at the end of the second front panel. All right, so second front panel is done, and this is what the cardigan looks like before we're ready to join the front panel to the back panel, which is what we're going to do now. And so to do that, I like to place stitch markers to mark where I'm going to start inserting my darning needle. It's also to make sure that both panels are placed equally on the back panel, if that makes sense. And now we're just going to whip stitch those top 2 shoulders. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up a bit. I do want to show you how I do it, but I do want to speed it up because there's no one way of doing this. There's many different ways of joining using the darning needle and yarn, but this is how I do it. Okay, so I just insert my yarn. I make sure that I have a tight loop there so that it doesn't unravel, and then I just sort of, you know, whip stitch, mattress stitch, whatever method is preferred. Okay, I kind of use it the way I would with my shoelaces, but you can do it whatever's more comfortable for you. And then when you're done, this is what it would look like. And you're just gonna cut your yarn. Leave a tail so that you can weave it in later on. And then you're gonna repeat that for the second front panel. All right, so now we have both our front panels joined to the back panel. And as you can see, the armholes are created. Okay, so very minimal seaming with this method, with this one piece for the main body method, and then the sleeves are added after. So, which is actually what we're gonna do next. So, switch your work so that it's laying with the top of the shoulders on your left side. And now you can start working from the bottom of the armhole up. And you're going to do this in the round following the 8-row repeat. So you're still resuming the 8-row repeat. For me, it's going to be 25 rounds, and that's based on the length of my sleeve. Yours may be longer or shorter, okay? So based on my body measurements, which by the way, I have a video on how to take your own body measurements, as all my projects are made to measure. But based on my body measurements, 25 rounds is going to get me to the desired length that I want for my sleeve. So I want to show you how I do that first round, which according to where I left off in the pattern is going to be half double crochet. Okay, so I'm starting with the half double crochet for my sleeves. So round one, this is how I start. I do a chain one when I work in the rounds. When I work in rows, I do not use turning chains. You'll notice that in most of my works. However, for sleeves, when I work in the rounds, I do use a turning chain because it does give me the level of height that I need for my stitches. And I still use stitch markers, making sure that I know where my first stitch is and where my last is. This is even more important when you're working in the rounds because it can get confusing. Where was your first stitch? Where was your last? I've been crocheting for quite some time. I've been crocheting since I was 9, and sometimes I still get lost and I have to frog my work. So this would prevent you from having to frog your work. Okay. So now we're almost at the end of the first round. I want to show you how I close the round. And I do not do continuous rounds. I close each round by doing a slip stitch. And to do the slip stitch, I insert my hook into that stitch where I had the stitch marker. And that would have been the first stitch of the round. That's where I insert my hook, and like this, I just ended round one with a slip stitch. Okay, so now that round one is closed, we're gonna start round two. Now for round two, because it's gonna be a double crochet round, I'm going to chain two. Again, like I just said earlier, I do use chain twos or chain ones when I work in the round. Another thing I do differently is I turn my work. And this is so that when you join your round, sometimes what happens is you get this really ugly seam, or sometimes you get holes at the place where you joined. And so to prevent that, I like to turn my work. And so now we're going to skip this. We're not going to insert our hook there. Instead, we're going to insert it over in the next stitch after that. So in this stitch right here, which is the next stitch over, is where we're going to do our second double crochet. That chain two, by the way, counted as a double crochet stitch. And now you're just going to continue this 8-row repeat pattern for 24 rounds. Like I mentioned, this is based on my measurements, okay? So I will see you at the end of the sleeve. Before I go, I do want to mention that this is for the length of the sleeve before the cuffs. So this is what the sleeve looks like before I get to the cuff. Okay, so the 25 rows are the length of the sleeve up until my wrist. When I get to the wrist, I like to add a few more inches for the cuff because I do want my sleeves to go all the way down to my fingertips. So I'm showing you how I'm closing the 24th round, which is again by using a slip stitch. And now we are done with the round 24. And to start round 25, which is going to be the beginning of the cuffs. So we are going to do some decreases. So for round 25, we're going to do half double crochets, 2 together. And I want to show you how to do that. So after I did my chain 1, I'm going to insert a half double crochet stitch in that next stitch from the round below. Insert my stitch marker, and to do half double crochets 2 together, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch underneath both loops, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops. Do not yarn over and pull through. Instead, yarn over and pull and put it in the next stitch, and then yarn over, pull through all of them. So I'm going to show it one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, and then pull through all the loops. So you're gonna have multiple loops on your hook. So yarn over, insert your hook under that stitch, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. Okay, feel free to slow this down as many times as you need to get the hang of it. Okay, but you're gonna do that for the entire round, for this round. And I'll see you at the end of round 25. So here we are at the end of round 25, and I'm going to close that round with a slip stitch as usual. And now we're going to start working on the ribbing. So the ribbing is going to start at round 26. And for that, for the ribbing, I'm going to be using double crochets. And the reason for that is because the ribbing is actually going to be front post, back post, double crochet stitches alternating. To do that, you need to first start with a double crochet round. So first you do a round of double crochets, and then your subsequent rows are going to be front post, back post. And to get those ribbing type, to get that rib look with the double crochets, you want to use those tall stitches, and the double crochets and triple crochets are known for having taller posts, and those posts are where we're going to work our front post, back post, hence the name front post, back post. Okay, so right now for round 26 I'm just doing double crochet stitches. Those stitches will be the base for the front post, back post. Okay, so I'll see you at the end of this round. All right, so we're at the end of round 26. And as I was mentioning earlier, um, the 26th round, or this double crochet round, doesn't have to be 26 round, depends on your measurements. But this round is going to be the first double crochet round and the base for the next round, which are going to be front post and back post double crochet stitches alternating. I do have a video tutorial on how to do front post, back post double crochet stitches, but I am going to show you how to do that. So for the next 3 rounds, we're going to do front post, which looks like this. Insert your hook. So these are the posts of the double crochet stitches, right? The actual stitch itself, if you look at it from the front angle, looks like this. So you're going to insert your hook around the post from the back, and then you're going to do a double crochet stitch. That is going to pull the post forward, which is why it's called the front post. The next one is going to be a back post, so you want this post to be pushed back. So you're going to insert your hook around it, but from the back through the front and back out the back, and then do a double crochet stitch. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time. Next one is front post, so insert your hook around the front post going through the back. It's almost opposites, right? For a front post, you actually put your hook around it, front to back. For the back post, you do back to front. Okay. Again, I have a video tutorial on how to do front post, back post, but this is essentially what you're going to do for the next 3 rounds. So for round 27, 28, and 29, you're going to be doing front post, back post, double crochet alternating. Now it is important that you alternate. It's the alternating that over the round is going to give you that ribbed look, right? So let's just keep doing this. I want to show you one more time. This is a front post, and you'll know because your post looks like it's coming forward. And keep doing this all the way around. All right, so we completed the 3 rows of front post, back post, double crochet alternating. And now we're going to close that last round. Once again, using a slip stitch like this. And now our cuff is done. We're going to cut our end. Remember to leave a tail that you're going to weave in later on. And now you can fasten off like this. And now your first sleeve is completed. Now you're going to repeat what we just did. This is what it looks like, by the way. It looks really neat. This is another way of doing the ribbed, getting the ribbed look. And so this is your sleeve with that cuff at the end. And again, we're following the 8 row repeat throughout, except when we got to the cuff. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that we just did for that first sleeve. We're going to do that again for the second sleeve. Okay. So I will see you at the end of the second sleeve. All right, everybody. So the second sleeve is completed, and this is what we have now. So the main body of the panel is done. The sleeves are now done. And what we're going to do now is the border ribbing. So we're going to add a border around the cardigan. So starting from the bottom of the front panel, working all the way around the bottom of the panel. We're going to put a border all the way around and back up the other front panel, back to the neckline, and we're just going to keep going back, right? So we're going to do this border ribbing using the front post, back post, double crochet, alternating. But for that, we're going to start with the first row of double crochet. Okay, so the border ribbing is going to be 5 rows total of front post, back post, but remember you first need to start with a row of double crochet because that double crochet row is going to be the base of the front post, back post, because you need those posts in order to do your front post and back post. So I just want to show you where I'm starting, which is the bottom corner of the front panel. That's where I'm going to insert my hook and start with my first double crochet stitch. And I'm going to start that with a stacked single crochet. I'm not doing a chain 2 because this is not a sleeve and I am not working in the round. So I am inserting my stitch marker, and that counts as my first double crochet stitch. And now I'm going to double crochet all the way around the bottom border, work my way up the front panel sides, around the neckline, and back down to this point. So I will meet you after I've gone through those 5 rows of front post, back post, double crochet, alternating stitches. Okay, so we're just going around and I'll see you at the end. So I just wanted to show you what the 5 rows look like. I'm finishing up that 5th row of front post, back post. I wanted to show you what that looks like before moving on to the pocket so you can see this nice ribbed look. And then that we're done with our ribbing for the border, we're going to start working on the pockets for this cardigan. So starting with the first front pocket, which we're going to repeat for the second pocket as well, we're going to start with 24 foundation double crochet stitches. So that first row is going to be a foundation double crochet row, and you're going to do 24 foundation double crochet stitches. Now that 24 number is based on the length of my hand from my wrist to my fingertips, with about a couple of inches of ease. So depending on how long you want your pocket to be, that foundation row is going to be longer or shorter. If you want it longer, make longer chains. If you want shorter, make lower number of foundation stitches. So right now we're working on that first row, which again is 24 foundation double crochet stitches, and we're going to do that for 8 rows. So I'm just showing you right now what my foundation double crochet stitches look like so far, and I'm going to do most of this off camera. I just want to show you how I started the pocket. So you're going to do 24 stitches per row for a total of 8 rows, and this is based on my hand size with about 2 to 3 inches of ease on all sides. Okay, so I will see you at the ends of the main pocket. So the main body of the pocket is done, and now we're going to change color and begin the pocket border. So I've successfully changed color, so I now have the color B, which is what I'm going to use to start the border. And the border is going to consist of 2 rows of extended single crochet stitches. So I'm going to show you the first extended single crochet. So insert your hook under both loops as you normally would, but pull through one loop, not both, and then you can pull through both loops. So once again, after I put my stitch marker real quick, I'm going to demonstrate this again. So for the extended single crochet, You're going to insert your hook underneath both loops just like you would for a normal single crochet. Then yarn over, pull through one loop, so almost like a chain one, and then yarn over, pull through both loops. That's an extended single crochet stitch. Again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through one loop. You've got two loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both, and you just created your extended single crochet. So go ahead and do 2 rows of this, and I'll see you at the end on the other side. Now, before I go to the end, I just wanted to stop real quick and clarify that I am doing the border. Those 2 rows or borders are around the 3 sides of the pocket. So left side of the pocket, bottom of the pocket, right side of the pocket. I'm doing 2 rows around those. I'm leaving the top border because that's going to be the final row after the 2 rows. Okay, so I will see you at the top of the pocket for that final row, which is going to be a single crochet row. All right, so we're at the top of the pocket, and I'm going to do 1 row of single crochet. I am going to speed this up a bit, so I just want to show you where I start that single crochet, which is the top corner, and I'm going to go across. I'm just doing 1 row of single crochet just to close out the top border of the pocket, and that'll be it. So I will see you when that first pocket is completed. And here we are, our first pocket is completed. We're going to fasten off. Make sure that you leave a tail at the end for weaving in. And we're going to repeat what we just did for the second pocket. Now, our second pocket is done. As you can see, they are identical. So make sure that your pockets are in fact identical. And now what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what's the right side or the wrong side. It's totally up to you. And the next step is joining the pockets on top of the cardigan. So I use stitch markers to place them where I want them to be. And here we go. Now our cardigan is officially done. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. But I hope you found the tutorial helpful. So happy crocheting. Bye-bye. See you in the next video.